towering wave slammed against the royal dreadnought, sending iron beams groaning beneath the weight of the Black Sea. "Drag her out!" Captain Darius Voss's command echoed across the rain-soaked deck as two Royal Marines hauled a shivering young woman from the cargo hold. Her soaked black hair clung to her face. Salt water dripped silently from her tattered cloak onto the steel planks below. She offered no resistance. She simply looked at the sea. Captain Darius drew his sword with a sharp, metallic hiss. "A stowaway aboard a royal vessel earns only one sentence." He raised the blade. "Execution." Alpha King Caspian stepped forward, intending to stop the needless killing. Then he caught her scent. It struck him harder than the storm. Sea salt, deep ocean currents, ancient tides untouched by sunlight. His wolf surged awake inside him with one undeniable truth. Mate. Caspian's heart pounded. Something about this silent woman felt impossibly old, impossibly powerful, yet profoundly weary. Another thunderous wave crashed against the hull. The deck shuddered. Somewhere far below the ship, beneath miles of black water, an enormous, unfamiliar sound rolled through the abyss. Not thunder, not shifting stone. A call. The woman slowly lifted her eyes toward the horizon, as if she had heard it too. The captain's sword began its downward arc. He had exactly one heartbeat left before making the greatest mistake of his life. The blade never reached her. Not because Captain Darius hesitated, because the sea did. A deep vibration rolled beneath the dreadnought, subtle at first, like the distant heartbeat of an enormous creature sleeping beneath miles of black water. Every lantern hanging from the rigging swayed at the exact same moment. The rain changed direction. Instead of falling toward the deck, countless droplets hovered for the briefest heartbeat before drifting toward the silent woman. Captain Darius frowned. "What trick is this?" No one answered. The Royal Marines tightened their formation. Steel boots scraped across the rain-slick deck. Runed harpoons gleamed beneath flashes of lightning. 30 seasoned warriors surrounded one unarmed woman. None noticed that the ocean around the ship had become perfectly still. No waves, no foam. Only a vast, glass-like darkness stretching to every horizon. Nerissa Abyss slowly lowered her gaze. Water gathered around her bare feet in delicate circles. She never summoned it. It simply refused to leave her. A single drop floated upward, then another. Within moments, dozens of crystal-clear spheres drifted around her hands, like tiny moons caught in orbit. She whispered almost too softly to hear. "Please, not yet." The droplets trembled, then settled. The sea had listened. Alpha King Caspian watched without moving. His instincts screamed two completely different truths. His alpha demanded he protect the woman standing before armed soldiers. His wolf bowed in quiet recognition. The mate bond had never felt like this. He expected vulnerability. Fear, the desperate hope of rescue. Instead, he sensed impossible restraint. It felt as though someone was holding back an entire ocean with nothing but unwavering discipline. His chest tightened. She was not afraid of the captain. She was afraid of herself. Captain Darius laughed. So the little stowaway can play with rainwater. He gestured toward the Marines. Finish this. None of them moved immediately. One young Marine stared uneasily at the floating droplets. They are moving. They are watching. Another scoffed. Water does not watch. Yet even as he spoke, every sphere rotated toward the drawn swords surrounding Nerissa. The droplets behaved less like liquid and more like attentive eyes. Deep below the ship, something answered. A slow, resonant call echoed through the abyss. Nerissa closed her eyes. She recognized it instantly. The endless trench. Even after centuries, the ancient Guardians still remembered her bloodline. Her grandmother had warned her as a child. The sea never forgets its promises. It also never forgets its queens. Nerissa had never wanted the title. Queens inspired wars. She had only wanted peace. Another pulse traveled through the water beneath the ship. Pain struck without warning. Her lungs tightened violently. She fought to keep her expression calm. The hidden cost had begun collecting its payment. Every moment she allowed the ocean to answer her. Cold pressure spread through her chest. It felt as though invisible seawater slowly filled spaces where air should have been. She inhaled carefully. The breath caught halfway. Not enough to alarm anyone. Enough to remind her. Power always came with a tide, and every tide eventually returned to claim its shore. She steadied herself before anyone noticed. Years of practice had taught her how to hide suffering behind stillness. Captain Darius mistook her silence for weakness. Look at her. He smiled cruelly. She cannot even stand straight. Legends are always disappointing. The Marines laughed. Their confidence echoed across the deck. Above them, lightning flashed across the storm clouds. For an instant, the black sea became brilliant silver. In that single flash, Caspian noticed something no one else did. The water surrounding the ship did not reflect the lightning. It reflected her. Every ripple pointed toward Nerissa. Every current curved subtly around the hull, as though the sea itself revolved around her presence. His heartbeat quickened. Impossible. The mate bond pulsed warmly inside him, not with romance, with recognition. She belonged to something older than kingdoms. Far beneath the waves, enormous shadows drifted through the darkness, too large to be whales, too graceful to be monsters. They circled the dreadnought once, then disappeared into the abyss again. No sailor saw them. Nerissa did. She silently pleaded, "Stay below. Please." The unseen giants obeyed. For now. If you have ever carried responsibilities that no one around you could see, you may understand why Nerissa remains so quiet. Sometimes the strongest people are not those who display their power, but those who spend every day choosing not to use it. The oldest sailor aboard the dreadnought slowly removed the charm hanging around his neck. His weathered face had turned pale. He stared into the unnaturally calm sea. "I heard this story when I was a boy." Another sailor frowned. "What story?" "The first Abyss Queen." The sea became silent before she appeared. No one answered. Only the storm remained. Only the woman standing barefoot upon the rain-soaked deck. And somewhere beneath the endless darkness of the Black Sea, an ancient guardian opened its eyes for the first time in centuries. Lightning split the heavens. For a single heartbeat, the Black Sea shone like polished glass. Then darkness reclaimed it. Alpha King Caspian remained motionless between Captain Darius and the silent woman. The storm no longer held his attention. She did. The mate bond pulsed again. Stronger, deeper. He drew a slow breath, salt, cold rain. Ancient coral hidden beneath impossible depths. Then another scent emerged. Not fear, not desperation. Pressure. The crushing, immeasurable pressure of the deepest ocean trench. His wolf lowered its head, not in submission to danger, in recognition. Mate. The certainty echoed through every instinct he possessed. Yet nothing about her resembled the frightened Omega everyone else believed they had captured. She stood perfectly still while 30 armed Marines surrounded her. Only her breathing betrayed the invisible battle raging inside. Too careful, too measured, as though every breath required conscious effort. Caspian's chest tightened. Something was hurting her. Not the chains, not the captain. Something far older. Captain Darius slammed the tip of his sword against the steel deck. I grow tired of this performance. He pointed directly at Nerissa. Kneel. She quietly lifted her eyes. I already kneel. The captain frowned. To whom? The sea. Silence followed. Several Marines exchanged uncertain glances. One laughed nervously. The storm has driven her mad. Another adjusted his grip on a ruined harpoon. Finish it before she starts another speech. Caspian never took his eyes off her. The mate bond carried another sensation across the invisible connection. Pain. Cold. Not the sharp pain of a wound. The slow, relentless ache of someone drowning one breath at a time. His own lungs suddenly felt heavier, only for an instant. But it was enough. He understood. Whatever power she possessed, it was consuming her from within. Nerissa felt him notice. For the first time since boarding the dreadnought, she looked directly into his eyes. Amber fire. Warm. Steady. The exact opposite of the endless cold she had carried for so many years. A strange comfort stirred inside her heart. Dangerous comfort. She could not afford distractions. Not tonight, not here. Another pulse rose from beneath the ship. This one was stronger. The ocean called her name without words. Every current surrounding the dreadnought curved inward. Every wave slowed. Every drop of rain seemed suspended between sky and sea. The oldest sailor staggered backward. I have seen storms. His voice shook. I have seen tidal waves, but I have never seen the ocean. He swallowed hard. Wait. Caspian noticed it too. The sea was waiting for permission. Not from the captain, not from the storm, from her. He stepped forward carefully. What is your name? She hesitated. Nerissa. The name settled into his soul with startling familiarity, as though it had always belonged there. I am Caspian. I know. He blinked. You know who I am? I knew before I saw you. The mate bond flared between them. Warmth spread through his chest. For one impossible moment, the roar of wind and waves faded into silence. Only their shared awareness remained. Captain Darius noticed the exchange. His expression darkened. "My king." He lowered his sword respectfully. "This woman is manipulating you," Caspian answered without looking away from Nerissa. "No." The captain frowned. "She is dangerous." "I know." "She could destroy this ship." "I know." "Then why are you standing in front of her?" Caspian finally turned. "Because I believe." His gaze returned to Nerissa. "She has been protecting it." The captain laughed. "Protecting." The word sounded absurd against the backdrop of the raging storm. Yet several sailors no longer laughed. They had begun noticing impossible details. The enormous waves always broke beside the ship, never directly against it. The lightning never struck the mast, despite towering above the sea. Even the violent wind curved strangely around the woman standing barefoot upon the deck, as though unseen hands kept redirecting destruction away from everyone aboard. Nerissa closed her eyes. The pressure inside her chest intensified. She tasted salt. Not from the rain. From deep within her lungs. The curse was advancing. Every heartbeat spent restraining the abyss allowed another tide to rise inside her body. She quietly pressed one hand against her ribs. Just once. Then lowered it before anyone noticed. Everyone except Caspian. He noticed everything. If you have ever met someone who appeared remarkably calm while quietly carrying more pain than anyone realized, you may understand why Caspian cannot look away. Sometimes compassion begins the moment we choose to truly see another person. Far below the dreadnought, the darkness moved. Massive shapes circled beneath the vessel, not attacking, waiting. Ancient eyes watched the woman above, awaiting the command they had obeyed for generations. Nerissa whispered so softly that only the sea heard. "Please, stay asleep." The water answered with one long, low resonance. It was trying. But Captain Darius raised his sword once more. His patience had ended. "So be it. If the sea will not claim you, I will." The blade began to fall. At that exact instant, every wave surrounding the royal dreadnought stopped moving. The Black Sea became perfectly still. Alpha King Caspian's heart hammered against his ribs. His wolf did not sense fear. It sensed awakening. He realized, with breathtaking certainty, the execution was never going to begin. The judgment of the sea was. The captain's sword never landed. The instant its blade entered the air, the sea disappeared. Not the water, the movement. Every wave froze in absolute stillness. Rain hung suspended above the deck like thousands of tiny glass beads. The wind stopped breathing. The sails fell silent. An impossible calm swallowed the Black Sea. Captain Darius blinked. "What?" His voice cracked. "Is happening?" No one answered. Even thunder refused to speak. Nerissa slowly raised her head. Water drifted upward from the drenched deck. One ribbon, then another. Thin streams spiraled gracefully around her wrists like liquid crystal answering an ancient dance. She never forced them. She simply stopped resisting. Far beneath the dreadnought, something enormous awakened. A deep call rolled through the abyss, not loud, ancient. The iron hull vibrated beneath everyone's feet. One Marine stumbled. Did we strike a reef? Another looked over the railing. There is nothing below us. He was wrong. There was something below. Something far too vast to see all at once. Alpha King Caspian remained perfectly still. The mate bond erupted through his soul. Warm fire met endless water. He expected overwhelming violence. Instead, he felt heartbreaking restraint. Nerissa was still trying to hold everything back. Captain Darius stepped forward again. His pride refused to surrender. "Kill her!" 30 Royal Marines rushed together. Runed harpoons lowered. Steel flashed, disciplined, precise, deadly. Nerissa opened her hand. The sea answered. Water burst over the railings, not as a crashing wave, as countless flowing ribbons, each ribbon wrapped gently around a weapon. One by one, harpoons slipped from stunned hands. Swords rotated harmlessly through the air. Crossbows unraveled as soaked bowstrings quietly loosened. No soldier was harmed, only disarmed. Several Marines stared at their empty hands in disbelief. "I never let go. You did not." Nerissa's voice remained almost tender. "The ocean simply asked you to." Captain Darius roared. "Cannons!" The artillery crews sprang into action. Massive runed cannons rotated toward the center deck. Engineers ignited the firing crystals. Blue energy surged through engraved barrels. For one heartbeat, everything appeared normal. Then, crack. The first cannon folded inward, not shattered, compressed. Iron bent with a long metallic groan before collapsing into itself like softened wax. Crack. A second followed, then a third. Every cannon along the starboard deck crumpled beneath invisible pressure. Runes dimmed, steel twisted, wooden gun carriages splintered beneath impossible force. No explosion, only surrender. Panic spread instantly. "The cannons! They are collapsing! What power is this?" Caspian looked toward the sea. The answer emerged, slowly, silently. The water beside the dreadnought bulged upward. A shadow rose beneath the surface, larger than the ship, larger than anything built by mortal hands. Then came another and another. The black sea opened. Colossal shadowed tentacles surfaced around the vessel, each wider than ancient oak trees. Each covered in shimmering markings older than recorded history. None struck the crew. None attacked. They simply surrounded the dreadnought, watching, waiting. Captain Darius dropped his sword. It clanged across the deck. His face lost every trace of color. "No." His whisper trembled. "It cannot be." One elderly sailor collapsed to both knees. The Leviathan Guardians. They still exist. A tentacle slowly reached toward the shattered artillery deck. Its movement was astonishingly gentle. It brushed the twisted cannons aside as easily as fallen leaves. Not destroying, disarming. The ship tilted. 10 degrees, 20, 30, 45. Crew members grabbed ropes and railings as cargo slid across the deck. No wave had struck them. The ocean itself had simply changed its balance. Captain Darius lost his footing. He crashed against the rail. For the first time in decades, fear replaced arrogance. He looked at Nerissa, not at the water, not at the creatures, at her. The woman everyone had mocked as a helpless stowaway. His lips trembled. You are... Nerissa met his terrified stare. My family made a promise to the sea. Her eyes glowed with deep sapphire light. I have spent my entire life keeping it. Another pulse rolled beneath the ship. The enormous tentacles lowered together, not bowing to the king. To her. Every sailor who witnessed the moment felt the same chilling realization. The sea did not obey Nerissa because she commanded it. It recognized its queen. Captain Darius slowly sank to both knees. His breathing became ragged. He could barely form the words. We captured. His voice broke completely. The Abyss Queen. Silence answered him. The storm returned. Thunder exploded overhead. Rain crashed onto the deck once more. But the greatest terror no longer came from the weather. It stood quietly before them. Barefoot. Calm. Compassionate. Holding enough power to erase the dreadnought from existence, yet choosing not to. Then the hidden cost arrived. Without warning. Nerissa inhaled sharply. Her chest seized. Cold pressure flooded her lungs. She coughed once. A thin stream of shimmering seawater slipped from the corner of her lips before dissolving back into mist. She quickly turned away. Most never noticed. One did. Caspian. The mate bond carried her agony into him like icy water filling his own lungs. His chest tightened violently. Breathing suddenly required effort. His eyes widened. She was not controlling the sea without consequence. The sea was slowly drowning her from within. If you have ever discovered that the strongest person in the room was quietly paying the highest price, you know why this moment changes everything. True greatness is often measured not by the power someone possesses, but by the mercy they choose to show while carrying unimaginable burdens. Another painful breath escaped Nerissa. The tentacles surrounding the ship stirred anxiously. The ocean sensed its queen weakening. Caspian stepped forward. Not as a ruler, not as a warrior, but as the one soul whose fire could keep her from sinking beneath a curse no one else could even see. The storm no longer roared. It listened. Towering waves surrounded the royal dreadnought, without breaking against its hull. The colossal Leviathan Guardians remained beneath the surface, their immense shadows circling in slow, protective silence. Every sailor stood frozen. No one reached for another weapon. No one dared. Nerissa's shoulders rose with another fragile breath. It never reached her lungs. She pressed one trembling hand against her chest. Cold spread deeper, not across her skin, inside her. The curse had crossed another threshold. She coughed again. This time she turned away before anyone else could see. Tiny droplets of glowing seawater slipped through her fingers and vanished into the rain. The ocean answered with visible unease. Currents twisted around the dreadnought. The sea did not become violent. It became anxious. Alpha King Caspian felt everything through the mate bond. His own chest tightened. His breathing shortened. Only a fraction of her suffering reached him. Yet it was enough to understand the unbearable truth. Every command she gave the ocean invited the sea into her body. Every miracle slowly drowned its own guardian. He stepped toward her. The Leviathan shadows stirred instantly. Several massive tentacles rose just beneath the surface, not threatening, watching, judging. Nerissa shook her head without turning around. "Do not come closer." Her voice remained steady. "The curse will spread." Caspian answered without hesitation. "Then we will face it together. You do not understand. I understand enough." She slowly looked back at him. The endless calm she had carried throughout the storm finally cracked. Not from fear, from exhaustion. For years, she spoke between careful breaths. "Every tide has taken something from me. The deeper I reach into the abyss, the deeper it reaches into me." Another painful spasm seized her lungs. She closed her eyes. The rain around her instantly stopped falling. Thousands of droplets hovered in the air. The ocean felt her pain. Captain Darius watched in stunned silence. Only moments earlier he had feared her power. Now, he feared her suffering. She had protected his crew. She had restrained creatures capable of destroying kingdoms, all while quietly fighting for every breath. His head lowered. "My queen." The words escaped before he realized he had spoken them. "I was blind." Nerissa barely heard him. The sea inside her chest continued rising. Every heartbeat sounded distant, heavy, slow. Caspian crossed the final steps between them. The Leviathan shadows moved again. One enormous tentacle surfaced beside the ship. Its single ancient eye regarded the Alpha King. Fire. It sensed fire inside his blood. The creature did not attack. It waited, as if asking one silent question. "Will you protect her?" Caspian met its gaze without flinching. "With everything I have." The sea became still. Permission granted. Nerissa's knees finally weakened. She would have fallen. Caspian caught her before she touched the deck. Not possessively, not to restrain her, simply refusing to let her collapse alone. She looked up at him. "You should let me sink." His expression softened. "I would rather learn how to swim beside you." A faint, weary smile touched her lips. "No one has ever said that." They should have. Her breathing became shallower. Cold mist escaped with every exhale. The ocean surrounding the dreadnought darkened another shade. The curse was no longer affecting only her. It was beginning to influence the sea itself. Engineers along the deck stared at strange readings on enchanted navigation crystals. The water temperature is dropping. The pressure is rising. The currents are collapsing inward. An elderly navigator whispered, "The abyss is grieving." Caspian gently placed one hand over the center of Nerissa's chest. "I am going to share this burden." She shook her head weakly. "It will burn you. It may. It could stop your heart. Then my heart will remember why it chose yours." The mate bond ignited. Golden fire spread from beneath his palm. Not wild, not destructive. steady, living warmth. His royal fire-blood aura flowed carefully into the freezing currents surrounding Nerissa's soul. The two forces met, ocean, fire. Neither tried to conquer the other. Steam rose gently where they touched. Balance. The freezing pain inside Nerissa's lungs paused, not vanished. Paused. For the first time in years, she drew a complete breath. Air. Warm, free. Tears quietly gathered in her eyes. She inhaled again. I forgot. Another steady breath. What warmth felt like. Caspian smiled. Then remember it. We will keep reminding each other. The cost reached him immediately. His own veins burned. Heat surged through every muscle. His heartbeat pounded against his ribs with painful force. Sweat formed across his forehead despite the freezing rain. Still, he never removed his hand. The fire carried part of her burden, just as the sea released part of its crushing weight. The ocean responded. Storm clouds slowly opened. Golden light spilled through the sky. The towering Leviathan Guardians lowered themselves back beneath the waves, one after another. Not because they had been dismissed, because they were no longer needed. Captain Darius slowly removed his sword belt. He placed it upon the soaked deck, then knelt. Every Royal Marine followed. No command was spoken. Respect required none. The oldest sailor wiped tears from weathered eyes. I spent 60 years fearing the monsters beneath the sea. He looked toward Nerissa. They were never the monsters. If someone has ever stayed beside you when life felt too heavy to carry alone, then you already understand why this moment matters. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is not defeating an enemy. It is allowing someone trustworthy to help bear your burden. If this chapter touched your heart, leave a like and remember the people who stood beside you when you needed them most. Far below the Black Sea, the endless trench released one deep, resonant call. Not a warning, a promise. Hidden beneath unimaginable depths, an ancient seal shimmered with faint sapphire light. The first abyss. Queen's forgotten covenant had sensed the union of fire and sea. Whatever had slept beyond the trench for countless ages now knew its final guardians would face the coming tide together. Dawn arrived over the Black Sea in complete silence. The storm had vanished. Gentle waves rolled beneath the royal dreadnought, as though the ocean itself had finally found peace after a long night of holding its breath. Sunlight spilled across the water. For the first time since the voyage began, the sea reflected the sky instead of swallowing it. Nerissa stood at the bow of the ship. A soft breeze lifted her dark hair. Tiny streams of seawater still circled her fingertips before dissolving harmlessly into the morning air. The curse remained. It always would. But it no longer tightened around her lungs with every heartbeat. The burden had become something shared. Alpha King Caspian joined her quietly. Neither spoke at first. Some moments became more meaningful when left undisturbed. Behind them, Captain Darius approached with slow, measured steps. The pride that had once defined him was gone. He removed his captain's ceremonial saber and laid it carefully upon the deck before lowering himself to one knee. I believed command meant forcing the sea to obey my will. His voice carried across the silent ship. I understand now that true leadership begins with humility. He lifted his eyes toward Nerissa. You spared every life aboard this vessel when no one would have questioned your anger. You have earned my respect. Around him, the Royal Marines followed. One after another, armored soldiers knelt without hesitation. Weapons remained sheathed, heads remained bowed. No order had been given. Respect had become their own choice. Caspian looked across the gathered crew. The strongest rulers are not those who inspire the greatest fear. He turned toward Nerissa. They are the ones whose strength creates safety for others. Nerissa smiled gently. The sea never belonged to me. I have only been entrusted to care for it. A warm breeze crossed the deck. Far beneath the surface, enormous shadows glided peacefully through the deep before disappearing into the endless blue. The Leviathan Guardians had returned to their ancient watch. The covenant endured. For now. Then, from somewhere far below the endless trench, a single deep resonance echoed across the water. Not loud enough for every sailor to hear, but enough for Nerissa and Caspian. They exchanged a knowing glance. The ancient seal still stood, yet something beyond it had awakened. Not in rage, in awareness. Another journey would someday begin. And when that day arrived, neither of them would face it alone. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson hidden within every storm. Real strength is not measured by how much power we possess or how much pain we can endure in silence. It is measured by the wisdom to protect others without losing our compassion, and by the courage to accept help when our own strength begins to fade. Sometimes the people who appear strongest are quietly carrying the heaviest burdens. A single act of understanding can become the turning point that changes an entire life. If this story has stayed with you, I hope you carry that thought into your own journey. May peace fill your heart. May good health bless you and your loved ones. May your home be surrounded by kindness, hope, and unwavering love. And whenever life's storms grow fierce, may you always find someone willing to stand beside you until calm waters return. Before we part, I would love to hear your thoughts. When the ancient force beneath the endless trench finally awakens, should Nerissa and Caspian descend into the abyss together? Or should Nerissa face her family's forgotten covenant on her own? Share your answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another unforgettable werewolf romance adventure filled with powerful heroines, alpha kings, ancient legends, and stories where courage and compassion always rise together. Until next time, may every storm you face lead you toward a brighter horizon.